The Niagara Falls Writers' Festival spread out over 3 branches of the city's public library system this weekend. Aspiring authors had the chance to meet working writers who shared their stories and their advice. Festival spokesperson Eric Upper says a sense of community amongst writers is important in their craft.
So the Niagara Falls Writers' Fest is a festival celebrating the literary arts, becoming a professional writer and kind of developing your skill sets and ideas as a writer. We have a bunch of workshops at the 3 different locations. So each workshop pertains to something different. Each location is kind of focused on a separate idea. So here it's more professional, for being a professional writer. At the McBain branch, it's more teens to family related. And then at the Stanford branch, it's more poetry and performing.
In the advent of the internet and making things so much more, I guess, accessible to everybody, have you found that more and more people are trying to step up and put their thoughts, put their feelings on paper?
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, especially nowadays, self-publishing is almost the way to go for a lot of people, and the advantages to self-publishing, or not even just publishing, but putting your information out there on the internet, is so much easier than it used to be even 10 years ago.
Author Kathy Dobson has published 2 memoirs about growing up in Montreal. Her session focused on helping people put their own stories to paper.
When I wanted to write my books, and I kept thinking if only I had some type of roadmap or some type of advice from someone who's done this before. So once my books came out and seemed to do really well, I thought, I have some things that I think I could help other people who are interested in writing their stories. So ever since then I've been doing workshops about how to write your story.
There must be a real sense of bravery for someone who's going to sit down and write their story and try and get it published.
If anything, I thought it was an act of arrogance and was embarrassed to even think that I was writing a memoir. And we weren't calling it a memoir, the publisher and I, in the beginning. It was supposed to be a social history of a particular time in Montreal's history of the 60s and 70s. But then it ended up becoming a very personal way of telling that story because my mother was so central to it that then he started calling it a memoir. But yeah, I'm sure it is definitely a leap of faith to be willing to make yourself vulnerable and share stories about your past with a wide audience, for sure.
I've seen the blue, the red, the yellow, the green was never brighter on the other side. The lost, the few, the banished, the dying breed is a man cast to never die. But in this beginning, in this haunting, in this Holocaust, in this revelation, it will turn this place to ash and skin pride. Because I've seen the evil, the wealthy, the healthy, and the good warriors escort the lost to the other side. With all these scenes, these feelings, these senses, they become fleeting and passing as the sun sleeps tonight.
Taylor, you're here to talk to other writers. What is it that you say to these people?
I just kind of talk about where I started as a poet 7 years ago and how I've started a movement here in Welland and in Niagara Falls and St. Catharines of poetry and giving a safe place for poets and writers and musicians to perform and speak their mind.
What do you mean by a movement in poetry?
It's very much kind of like the Beat Generation, Jack Kerouac, Allen Ginsberg, really New York in the 50s, of just a group of people hanging out and talking about what moves them and stuff like that. Yeah, that's really kind of like the movement. It started, nothing was really happening music-wise and stuff for a while in Niagara region, and then I just kind of came along and said this is what needs to happen, and it just kind of flowed.
Following the workshop at the Victoria branch of the library, Peebles led an open mic session at a nearby Queen Street cafe. Reporting in Niagara Falls for The Source, I'm Mike Balsom.